There's Nancy.
Nancy.
Oh, and
you haven't started.
I started. I'm itching my nose. Nice, right, guys?
Nice.
Hello.
We're professionals.
We are very professional. We're very laid back professionals, right? All right, guys. We are just waiting for a couple more people. But if you were on Facebook Live, I wanted to make sure you knew we were officially going. You guys are all watching from home, and you're probably in your garden, so you can do as you learn, like immediately, right?
Exactly.
I think I'm actually going to flip this around, though, in case somebody does comment. Let's try this again. Then I can see it. Yep. Hey, Nancy. Are you going to stand? Okay, I'm going to move away then. Come on in.
And I have this one.
What is it?
Isn't it your job?
Oh, yes, my jar. You're right. You're right. All right. I think whoever joins us from now on will just have to join us as where we are. Yeah. Alex, is this getting in your eyes at all?
Oh no, I opened it up.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Naturally.
The natural light. Perfect. I know, it's kind of nice to officially have.
So how long is this technically supposed to go?
However long you want it to go. 9 o'clock tonight. Listen to you.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. We want to know everything there is to know about having a good garden. I had a meeting today and the lady said, save the seeds. Don't garden.
Save the seeds, don't
Think
garden.
about that. That's something I could talk about too.
What?
Saving seed. I was going through this. I'm like, I want to make sure I just get all my knowledge. I'm looking over it. I'm like, Mom, is there any questions that you have?
Mom, help me.
Is there any more information I can toss on here? I just want to like give it all.
Give it all, right? All right. For those of you who don't know, this is Alex.
I'm Alex.
Alex has. Do we want to like expose actually how old you are? Alex has a very unique hobby at his age.
Yeah, so I'm 17 years old, big surprise, and I started my farm. I own Epic by Nature Farm, a completely chemical-free organic farm. Not certified organic, but everything I do is meets or exceeds organic standards. Pretty much, I started this when I was 15 years old. Started, just sort of. I've always had a passion for gardening since I was 10, and I've been, getting things out of my parents' pantry, growing pinto beans and lentils and like garlic and things like that, and just, growing all these different things. And back then, I didn't really have any money for like fertilizers and things like that. And I'm like, well, why do I need to do this? I can figure out a different way to do it. So I started, researching all these different things that I could do. And that's where a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight came from. It's from all those, 7 years of experience I've had over, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Oh, and a lot of it isn't buying products. A lot of it isn't buying, all these different compost tea mixes or all these different, magic formulas for, how to solve all your gardening problems. A lot of it comes from just the things that you have on hand, because that's where I came from. Is a lot of things that I had on hand. Going to the pantry. Okay, looks like I have, all this stuff that, okay, this matches what the internet says I can do. So one thing I just want to start from the beginning, I guess. Do you guys you said that you have a garden. Do you have a garden?
I do. Yeah, it's
So-
my second year. So.
Nice. Teresa, do you have a garden?
I have strawberries and I have potted like Brussels sprouts, and I cheat. I'm the mini version of garden, but Hannah likes to garden, so she has a small area.
So yeah, just I guess start from the beginning. You want a spot that, if you're growing containers, things like that, you want a spot that gets 6 to 8 hours of sunlight each day. That's enough to grow, most anything you can think of. 6 to 8 hours of sunlight will get you there. A lot of good places are like decks and patios, and where do you keep your containers?
On the deck.
On the deck? Yeah.
Yep.
So decks are an awesome spot. My deck doesn't really work that well because I have a huge tree right next to it. So yeah, just get them in 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. That's really good. And one thing that I always like to do is use mulch. Mulch is something that I've used from the beginning. And excuse my horrible name, but mulch is something that's going to really help you build your soil. It's really going to help you hold on to water. It's going to give you habitat for all the different soil microbes, which a lot of people don't think about. But you can't have a garden without the microbes. All the fungi, the bacteria, the mold, things like that. All that, you can't have a garden, you can't grow plants without that, because all of those things, all of those microbes make the nutrients that are in the soil available for the plants. It's sort of a symbiotic relationship.
And it sounds like stuff that you don't want, but you actually do
Yeah,
want.
it's not like a lot of people, like, let's bleach everything, let's sanitize everything. We don't want anything. But when it comes to your garden, you want to have it with tons and tons of life. Now, a lot of people, they see any bug, they see any fungus, they see anything like that, even touching their plants, or even in their houses or anything like that, and they're just like, let's kill it all, let's make everything sterile. But you can't have that. You have to have all those different things. And where the mulch comes in is the mulch will hold on to all of the water that's in the soil, and that's really a big thing, because a lot of these microbes, they can't survive without the moisture, and they can't survive without the ground cover.
So go ahead.
Oh, so for mulch, like, what are you talking about? Like grass
I was
clippings?
just gonna write that
Okay.
down. So
Okay.
things that you can use for mulch, you can use grass clippings.
Assuming you don't spray your lawn.
Told me.
Assuming you don't spray
Break
your lawn.
your grass.
You can't use them if you do, but
I'm
it's
like,
sort
okay, I'll
of
try that.
up to personal preference. I don't like to spray my lawn. I don't recommend that people use grass clippings. I haven't sprayed, but it's up to your own personal preference. Another thing you can do, wood chips. Now, you can buy these in a bag. You can buy the red wood chips, the brown wood chips, all these different things that have been dyed, all these pretty different colors. But I personally, I don't like to buy bagged wood chips or anything like that. One, because there's all kinds of harmful dyes, chemicals, things like that. They've been probably treated to kill any different fungus or anything like that, which is exactly what we're trying to get, is fungus. So, what I like to do, the Sartell compost site, the Sartell compost site usually has a huge mound of wood chips there, and all those have come from different storms that have blown down trees, things like that. That's where I like to go and get all my wood chips. Now it's free as long as you're a resident. You buy a compost sticker. Excuse me. As long as you get a compost sticker, it's like $30. Non-resident is like $60. What? So that's a great place to get your wood chips, because you can load up an entire pickup or trailer load for free basically, and you can throw that everywhere in your garden. I like to put 2 to 3 inches of mulch personally. You can go however much you want in the fall. Something like leaf mulch. I'll go as heavy as 6 inches of ground up leaf mulch, because in the winter I really like to just get a nice insulating layer. Now you can also use things like hay.
So why would you mulch in the winter?
Well, in the winter, you don't see. We're trying to preserve the soil microbial life, and in the winter, everything gets really cold. You have all the soil microbes. You have earthworms. You have beetles, things like that.
Yeah.
All beneficial. Now, when the snow comes, when all that stuff comes, you want to protect those. And if you have 3 to 6 inches of mulch there, they can actually still come up during the winter. They can come up to the soil line, and they can keep decomposing everything. So you'll come back in the spring, and you'll pull off your mulch, and you'll see tons and tons of worms.
Genius.
Yeah, well, it's stuff that Mother Nature's been.
Awesome.
I know we think it's this genius thing, but Mother Nature's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
You go look out into a forest, you'll uncover 3, 4, 5 inches of pine needles and twigs and all kinds of different things. So we just have to really just model nature here, and we'll get the best results.
So what about if I have raised beds? A
Yeah.
bunch of them. So because they're above ground, will, will they freeze out faster?
Yeah, they have raised beds, things like that. They'll drain really well, and that's an awesome perk of them. But they also, because they are more what's the word I'm thinking here? More exposed to the elements, they will tend to get a little bit colder, but you still do want to cover them up. You want to cover them up.
That still helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you do in the spring? This stuff is already gone then in the spring, or do you
Well,
like
in the
break the leaves
spring-
away when you go to like plant your seeds and stuff?
Yeah, in the spring, I come in and I have probably 6 inches of mulch on all my beds, and I'll pull all of that off. And depending on what I'm growing, say it's it could be tomatoes, it could be salad greens, things like that. On my farm, I typically specialize in salad greens, and I do tomatoes as well. But what I tend to do is I tend to pull it all off for that 2 to 3 weeks that everything is germinating, and then once everything germinates, in the case of tomatoes, let's say, I don't tend to mulch as heavily when it comes to things like salad greens, because I really like to get a really clean batch of greens. I don't like to be picking things out. That's never a fun time. So that's a whole other subject if we want to get into that. But when it comes to things like tomatoes, beans, cucumbers, all those different common things, then I'll put it back on. I won't go 6 inches, anything like that, but I'll do probably 2 to 3 inches for the summer. And that'll really, really hold on to all the moisture. When it can be 90 degrees out there, you can test this out. If you do this summer, you can put 3 inches of soil of mulch on the soil. Go out there in a 90-degree day. I'm sure we'll have one this summer, and you pull back your mulch, and it'll be wet down there. It'll be wet. You'll have earthworms. You'll have tons of soil there, and it'll be cooler to the touch. You go out to, let's say, this field right behind us, where our Coburn's right now. And you go to this field right behind us. I'm sure he's going to plant probably corn or soybeans or something like that up there. You can go out there on a 90-degree day. It'll be bone dry, and the soil will be upwards of 100 degrees. And there is nothing good that's happening there.
Yeah.
You have to irrigate that. There's no soil microbial life. The soil, it's blackening. It's even hotter than the ambient air temperature. It's not a good habitat for anything to live. That's not a good habitat for your crops to live in. So that's why we really want to cover the soil. Man, what else do I have?
So when you so you plant your seeds, then do you just leave, how much space do you leave? I'm really good at gardening. How much space are you leaving between where you put your seed and your mulch? Or are you putting the mulch right over the seed?
Well, when it comes to tomatoes, all of those sort of seasonal crops, I'll just go right up to the stem. I'll bring all the mulch and I'll bring it right up to the stem. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, but you're gonna have, rot at the stem, and all this different stuff." I personally have never had a problem with that. Some people like to keep it back 6 inches, but I don't see the point of that, because I've never had a problem with any fungus, any rot, any mildew, anything like that really getting to my plants. And you won't have a problem with that if you really just build up your beneficials. If you have your beneficial fungus and all those different things, all of those, they predate on all the pests that you have, whether it be diseases in the soil or anything like that. They'll outcompete all of the bad microbes.
Plus, you'll have less weeding.
Exactly. That's another
weeding.
Here I am thinking that one's just forgetting about that. But yeah, another really awesome thing is you don't have to weed as much. And when you do get weeds, because your soil is so soft underneath, because it's nice that it hasn't been getting trampled on, or the rain hasn't been hitting it and clogging all the pores, you can just pull up a 6-12-inch dandelion root like it's nothing. It's crazy.
I must smell it.
What?
I said make sure you eat that.
Yeah, make sure you eat the dandelion root. There's tons and tons of beta carotene.
Yeah, choose it.
Yeah, I've heard that dandelion root has some of the most beta carotene of any root in the plant kingdom.
You can eat the flowers too.
Hey, you can eat the flowers. I've heard that if you
Preferably yellow, not white.
Exactly.
Have you ever made tea with it?
Huh?
Do
I've
you
heard
use
that
the roots?
if you
or?
roast it and you grind it, it's a good coffee substitute.
Talking about coffee, have you put coffee grounds on? Have you done that as part of your mulch or soil?
So for you container garden. So one thing that I do with my indoor plants is I actually pour coffee on them. And it's awesome. It has so much nitrogen in it.
It's crazy.
Just like cold coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just take your cold coffee, you put your coffee grounds in there.
Well, I
That's
always have
awesome.
cold
Yeah.
coffee.
My
But-
mom used to do that all the time. She'd water her coffee or water her plants with coffee. But I know like some coffee places will save coffee grounds for you.
Yeah, you can do a lot with coffee. We had this one plant in my house that my mom had been, said that she'd been growing for like 10 years. It was only like 6 inches tall. It was crazy. Then I started pouring coffee on it, and it grew to like 5 feet long. It was crazy. All in the span of like 2 months of just me pouring coffee on it. She's been growing it for like
So like every day?
Well,
Or
I'd
how
say-
you would normally water?
Yeah,
Just-
exactly.
Just use coffee instead of water?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Even if you make your coffee really strong.
So
Yeah.
Melanie online says she's like tea bags.
Yeah.
If you're a tea drinker.
Oh,
Tea bags are good.
sure.
Yeah, all the different, say you're drinking like mint tea, any of those will all have different minerals and all have different nitrogen content and things like that. If you pour those onto your plants, it's awesome too. That's a great way to reuse your tea bags before you throw them away.
So
Preferably in compost.
So talking about mulch, I actually just bought red a couple weeks ago. Most of it's around my house. I did do it around my strawberry plants. Whoops. But I put newspaper down underneath my mulch. And Chris thought I was insane. And I'm like, no, I know I've read this before. Like, it's like a weed barrier. He's like, why don't you just buy it? And I'm like, because I have it. It's free. So it's a little challenging to sometimes piece it around there, but most of underneath my hostas is newspaper.
Yeah, one thing, if you look up online, it's called Back to Eden. It's a documentary about this really big farm, and he's all about using wood chips. And one of the things that he talks about is when you're first starting out a garden, you take, this can be on not even tilled soil. This can be sod. This can be like the thickest grass possible. And you'll take, let's use a couple different colors here. So you'll have your grass here, grown up, doing its thing. Then you take your newspaper. He's purple for newspaper. You'll take your newspaper. Teresa's got tons of newspaper. She's gonna lay all of her newspaper down. And then she's gonna go to her local compost site. She's gonna go to, say, Walmart or somewhere, or her local nursery. She's gonna get a bunch of OMRI listed compost. Has to be OMRI listed. You can go on the Miracle Grow bags, and they'll say it's all organic and stuff, but they're held to a different standard than USDA organic. USDA organic deals with food. Organic, when it comes to compost, is a completely different thing. I could label this whiteboard organic. And so she's gonna go and she's gonna get her OMRI listed organic. That's OMRI. OMRI listed organic compost. And she's gonna put, say, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however much compost she wants. She's gonna put it on top of her newspaper. Then she's gonna go get any of her favorites, mulch, grass clippings, wood chips, leaf mulch, hay, any of those different things. She's going to then put it all over the top of her soil, of her compost soil, whatever she puts down. And over time, this newspaper is actually going to suffocate out the grass that she has here. And then the newspaper is going to decompose. All those microbes are going to come up, the bacteria, everything is going to deteriorate all this newspaper. And then she can plant your plants. What do you like to grow? Strawberries?
Strawberries.
Strawberries? She's going to put her strawberries. We're going to use pink or strawberries. She's going to just pop her strawberries right in there. Right into her compost. And over time, say the next year comes by, you can dig right down into your subsoil. Right down into all of this. All of your grass will decompose and will be left with a nice, soft subsoil here, and you can plant right into that. And you didn't have to get a tiller, you didn't have to get a sod cutter, you didn't have to get any of those different things.
Or break your back.
You have an awesome yard. You have an awesome yard. You have an awesome garden now.
Wow. That's amazing.
Any other questions from anybody watching?
Not yet.
No? Any of you guys have questions? So, next thing I want to talk about, since we're on the topic of compost, is making your own compost. Do any of you guys make your own compost?
Yes.
You do?
Mhm.
Do you use like a compost tumbler, or do you just put it in a big?
Yeah, we have like a big
Nice.
thing.
So the recipe for making compost is super easy. It's 1 part wet / green matter, and that's things like, this is probably a bad first example, but like coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are considered like a wet green type thing, and this is going to be your nitrogen. This is going to be your nitrogen. This is what's going to kickstart all of your decomposition. This is what's going to fuel it all. Then you have 2 parts. 2 parts, your dry or brown material. And that's going to be your carbon. So things that fall under the wet or green column is going to be things like eggshells, veggie scraps, coffee grounds, weeds, grass clippings. Grass clippings and weeds you want to use sparingly, because grass clippings have a massive amount of nitrogen in them. And grass clippings are actually going to really burn up really quickly. You'll go in there, you can put a big pile of grass clippings in your yard. You'll go there two days from that, and you'll dig through there, and it'll be white and ashy. It'll literally burn up.
Wow.
Just the massive amount of nitrogen that's in them fuels the microbes, and they just devour it so quickly. But they devour it so quickly that they don't devour it completely. So you're left with a really ashy substance there's really not a whole lot of use for it. So you want to use grass clippings very sparingly. But things like eggshells, veggie scraps, coffee grounds, things like that, you want 1 part of that per your brown material. And your brown material is going to be things like dry leaves, twigs, anything you can think of that's really just kind of dry. Paper's a good one. All these different things you want to really chop up nice and fine. So you can put your veggie scraps, things like that, put it in a blender. You can take your paper, you can put that through a shredder. You can take your twigs and dry leaves, run them over with a lawnmower, or rake them into your compost, and then just put them in something you can move around pretty easily. You have like a compost tumbler. I use like 55-gallon barrels. I just cut a little hole in the top, and then I put a little lid on there. That's what I personally like to use. Something that you can move it around. You want to move it around so that it's even, so the microbes get a chance to get to everything. And when you move it around, you're going to be inducing air. A lot of people don't like to compost because it starts smelling bad. Have you ever had your compost start to smell bad? That's because it goes anaerobic, and those anaerobic bacteria they produce a lot of ammonia. They don't really go through the entire nitrogen cycle. So you want to be able to move it around a lot. You don't want it to be too wet because that'll create an anaerobic sort of environment for them, and they'll start to smell bad, and then you'll never want to do composting again because it really doesn't smell good. So you want to make sure you go overkill on carbon. You can always add more, but you really want to make sure you get a good carbon base. And then things to not add. Things like animal products. Animal products aren't very good. So like oils, cooking oils, do not add. Things like oils, meats, cheese, things like milk,
all those different things. You really don't want to add anything like this.
Okay.
Actually, this is what you're talking about.
I know. So two things. So Melanie online says they're not allowed to have compost piles in their town, but does the scraps in like an ice cream pail and adds that to her garden as she goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard of a lot of people if they can't have compost piles. A lot of people will take it's called trench composting. They'll dig about 1.5 foot down there, 1.5 foot deep. They'll dig a trench down their garden, and they'll fill that in with their veggie scraps. And then they'll cover that over, and then the worms will actually come in there. The worms, the microbes, all those different things will come in, and they'll start decomposing it. And then you'll go a year, and you'll be able to pick it up, and you'll have all this really, really fine black matter, and that's really good. Those are worm castings. Now, something for somebody who can't compost in their backyard, here's a good.
Okay, Alex, what about like if you have, let's say, a dog, and it's like we have these great big pine trees, and this is not my garden, but we have these great big pine trees, and that's where our dog poop and my grass clippings go. So I'm thinking this is really great soil, probably. Okay, not the same.
No, not the same thing.
Just to see now, everybody knows, right?
That's another thing for the do not add list. Don't add your dog poop. That's a lot of people think, that's a good thing. A lot of people will try to.
What if you had the opposite, cow manure, not the opposite, but what if you had like cow manure?
Things like that, yeah, those will go into the wet or green sort of nitrogen side. They have a lot of nitrogen in them. That's sort of the same thing with grass clippings. You want to add it very sparingly because that'll burn up really quick. And one thing I should note for everybody who's watching, for you guys, when it comes to manures are not something you want to directly apply to your garden if you're going to start planting it. So right now in the spring, not a good time to be putting out manures. Manures are super high nitrogen, and they'll burn your plants. Your plants can't handle that amount of nitrogen, that amount of soil microbial activity while it's still. It'll burn them up, and it won't be a good time.
So after harvest?
So yeah, after you harvest everything in the fall, dump on a bunch of manures. Dump your manures on, and then dump your leaf mulch, all those different things, and dump it on really thick and nice. That way, all of the earthworms can come up during the winter, and they can eat all that manure. They can really churn it up into your soil, and then you'll come back and it'll be really, really nice.
So, fun little side note, when I was in Ecuador, they have at the school, which is right by the farm, they have a composting site. Mm-hmm. So all their clippings go, and then from there it goes to the farm, if I remember right. And then there's different sections of that, and they're growing or harvesting worms compost for the fields.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to get into. So someone who can't do outdoor composting, this is a really good alternative for them. It's called vermicomposting. So vermicomposting is composting with worms. And typically the worms that you'll want to use are called red wigglers. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy like 10 pounds of them for super cheap. So red wigglers are I think from the Amazon or whatever, like the rainforest. And they are a decomposition worm. They go crazy on things like veggie scraps, all those different things. They tend to live in the uppermost organic layer of the soil. They really like to go and eat all those different things. So vermicomposting, you can do this in, say you have a Rubbermaid bin. You have like a 10-gallon Rubbermaid bin with a cover. You can take your cover, drill a couple of different air holes in there. Drill maybe like 20 air holes, about a half inch in diameter. Then you want to take something like a bedding material, say like paper. Take some paper, run it through the shredder, and you'll take that and you'll fill it up about two-thirds of the way up with paper. Then take a little bit of soil, say like 3/4 of soil, maybe like a gallon of soil, and dump it in there. And that'll give them a little bit of microbial life,
their microbes as well. And then you're going to take your veggie scraps. So, and then for the quartz soil, and then you're going to take your veggie scraps. Take your veggie scraps, and you'll want a piece of burlap the size of the surface area of the top of your Rubbermaid bin. Just take a piece of burlap. You can get it from, say you go over to like Dunn Brothers or somewhere like that. You can get their old coffee bags. Just take one of those. You can place it right down in there. That will protect the worms from the light, so they'll come up to the surface of the box and they'll start eating everything, and that'll also help you keep a little bit of the water in there. And then, so take your veggie scraps, and you'll want to take, so we have our hypothetical Rubbermaid box sitting in front of us, and you'll want to take your veggie scraps, so you have a handful of veggie scraps, put it right in one corner, and then lay your burlap down, and then wet everything down to the consistency of like a run-out sponge. And you want to just monitor this every once in a while. Okay, does my box need a little bit more water? Make sure that it's all nice and moist. One thing I should add is at the bottom of your box, take a little faucet fitting. You can go out to the hardware store, just ask them where their faucet fittings are, and just put a little drain at the bottom. That way, if you get a pool of water at the bottom, you can drain that out, and that's actually a really good fertilizer for, say, your indoor plants. You can put that into your container garden or something like that, even in your regular garden. And then put your veggie scraps into one corner, and then once the worms come up, they have completely taken that down and they've eaten everything. Then the next week or next day or whenever that happens, take your veggie scraps, put them in a different corner. And then just kind of rotate that around so that the worms are coming into different areas and they're not just all eating at one area. And yeah, that is vermicomposting. Vermicompost, then everybody's probably wondering, how do I harvest all my compost after this? Take a tarp, put your tarp out in, say, your garage or your yard or whatever you want to do, and pour out your compost, whatever your mixture is that you still have left in the box. This could be after 6 months or something like that. Whenever you really start to see a lack of paper, once all of your paper's really been sort of churned up and it's been turned into soil, then you can take this stuff, put it out on a tarp, and the natural sunlight beating down on that will drive all of the worms down to the bottom, and then you can just harvest right off the top all of your worm castings, and then you'll be ready to go. You'll be in business doing.
Can you obviously reuse the worms and start all over again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Reuse your worms. Once you get a nice colony of worms, they'll actually start reproducing, and you'll start having a really nice colony of worms that are really used to this, and they'll have their own immune system to anything that comes into your box. So you'll be basically breeding your own super worms to do all of your composting for you.
Voila.
So yeah. Any questions now?
So you said it could take about 6 months or so?
Yeah, it could take about 6 months, depending on the population of your worms.
Okay.
Once your worms really start getting like, okay, this is what's going on now, they'll start churning everything really well.
And you can't add huge amounts of.
Yeah,
Just
don't
add
add.
a little bit.
Yeah, don't add huge amounts of vegetable scraps or anything like that right away, because that'll actually start to rot and you won't be able to use it all at once.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, like, if you did that over the winter, like, do you have an idea what kind of temperature? Like, can someone do that in their garage? Would that be too cold?
Yeah, you can do that in your garage. I would recommend keeping it, since these are worms that are they're found in, like, say, the rainforest or things like that. They like to have sort of warmer temperatures. Let's say around 65 to 70 degrees is about the lowest I would bring them down to. So if you keep them in like your laundry room or something like that, they'll be absolutely fine. If you have a heated garage, that'd be really good as well.
Do they look like our worms?
Yeah, they look
Are they
pretty
bigger
much.
or?
No, they look pretty much just like our worms. They're about,
Okay,
say, the length of like
okay,
this, and they're really, really skinny and red.
okay.
That's where they get their name red burglars from.
Well, my cocoa.
No, they're not like huge like caterpillar like worms. Yeah, they're just sort of like our worms, just a
Okay.
different color.
Okay,
say something.
And does it hurt that? I mean, it's not bothersome for the dog to eat the worms. If they
For your dog or something like that? No.
Yeah, she loves eating worms.
She does? Your dog?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know it's kind of gross.
That's
She loves it
interesting.
after the rain.
Oh.
All right.
Well,
Each to their own.
Yeah.
I know everybody thinks we starve.
Maybe a good protein source, something like that.
Yeah, probably.
She's trying to compost her stomach. I don't know.
True, yeah. So the next thing I want to get into is controlling pests. So everybody's going to be asking, how do you control pests, all of these different things. And I actually have a couple of different handouts here. So I have one for you, and for you. This is a good multi-purpose solution to use for for different weeds or pests. You can use them interchangeably. And this is for everybody at home. I don't know, Teresa, can you show it on the camera?
Yeah, I can.
You'll need a 24-ounce spray bottle, 20 ounces of vinegar, and 20 drops of Vitality.
Actually, I thought this was for a shake, so I was wrong. So you can just use normal.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be Vitality. Just clove is fine.
Clove, okay. So 20 drops of clove essential oil, preferably from Teresa. Hit her up. She's really good with that stuff. And then a pinch of salt. Now this stuff, you just toss that into your spray bottle. Mix it up nice. And then you can spray this liberally on any weeds you have, on any pests that you have. But do be careful. This is a very effective weed killer. So if you get this on any of your plants that you're trying to grow, that wouldn't be good. It's not like it's going to really hurt them if they get a little splash on them or anything like that. But just be careful, and then avoid spraying this on things like bees or ladybugs, caterpillars, anything like that are the beneficials. You need those to actually sort of protect from the pests that you're trying to control. So,
But this would be really good, like if you have weeds in your rocks.
Exactly, yeah. If you have weeds in your rocks or something like that, or say you have aphids or things like that are getting into your crops, it's a really good multi-purpose solution for that.
So the Himalayan salt would probably be even more beneficial because you'd be adding more minerals.
Then you get those nice minerals, things like that.
Voila.
And then, so yeah, sort of controlling weeds, things like that, sort of that whole general pest category. You're really going to be taking care of that when you get your mulch. The mulch is going to be the most effective part of that. So mulching is going to control all the different weeds. It's going to give you good habitat for any of your what am I trying to say? Any of your microbes, any of your insects, things like that. It's really going to do wonders for that. And there's different biological control options. That would be, say, you can buy. This is sort of if you're into buying things like that, you can buy big packages of say 1,000 or 5,000 ladybugs, and you can release those into your garden, and those will actually attack aphids, things like that. Ladybugs are aphid machines. So if you have aphids in your garden, you really want to double down on getting things.
So for the people who don't know what those are what?
Okay, so if you go out, say on any trees or anything like that, and you see these little tiny like green, yellow, red little spots, those are aphids. So all those little tiny little sort of worm ball type things, those are aphids, and that's exactly what you don't want. So
Are those the ones that usually leave like holes in your leaves?
yeah, exactly. So tomatoes are really susceptible to that. Things like
I have them all over my apple trees every year. I can't get rid of them. So if I spray this in,
yeah, I would avoid if they're on your tomatoes or on anything like that.
Apple trees.
Apple trees.
They're on the apple trees.
I would just test this out. I've never tried it on trees, things like that. Test this out on say, just a little handful of leaves. Just take like one little tiny branch, spray it on there, and then see if it affects the leaves too bad. If it doesn't, then you'll be good. That'll really get the.
But you said if you bought ladybugs, obviously you can order ladybugs.
You can order ladybugs online. You can buy 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 ladybugs, and you can release those into your garden. One thing I want to note about that, if you don't have a habitat already there for ladybugs, those ladybugs aren't going to stay. They're going to go find somebody else's yard that has a really good habitat for ladybugs, and they're just going to hang out there. So before you go out and buy things like praying mantis, things like that, ladybugs, before you buy any of those insects, make sure that you actually create the habitat for them to stay. And they will be attracted to all the different aphids and the big food sources that you have for them, but make sure that you have you're planting good plants for them, you're planting your flower beds, things like that, so that they have a good habitat for them to thrive in. Also, you might not even have to go out and buy these different ladybugs, things like that. You can just try to attract them naturally. If you're more wanting to go that route, it's really good. It'd be a good option for you to go and say, buy a bunch of marigolds, buy dill plants, buy all kinds of different things. Dill, bachelor's button, onion plants, all the lettuce, if you let your lettuce mold. All of those are very, very good at attracting different things like parasitic wasps, ladybugs, all of those different things. Very, very good at that. Parasitic wasps are another one. Those are personally my best friend. I absolutely love parasitic wasps. And you might think that these are like the actual big wasps that you don't want to have around, but these guys are actually only the size of maybe half your pinky nail. They're very, very tiny. They kind of almost look like a fruit fly. But these guys, what they do is they'll land on any soft-bodied insect, say caterpillars, beetles, things like that, anything with like a soft body. They'll actually come onto those, they'll lay their eggs on them, and then their offspring will actually their larva will kill whatever host. So that's where they get their name, parasitic wasp, from. That might be a little bit more detail than anybody who's watching, if you guys want to know, but that's how it happens. And these guys, they're these really, really sweet little guys. They'll land on your hands, whatever. So dill, marigolds, bachelor's button, onion, bolted lettuce, anything with a really small flower is going to be great at attracting any sort of insects that you want to come into your garden. And those are really good. A lot of people don't want to dedicate different areas to their garden. So let's say this table is our garden, and you can plant out the entire center of it, just on the edge, do lines of marigolds or dill or herbs or whatever. Then it doesn't take up any of the room in your garden, and you still get the effects of it. You still get all the benefits of it. So you can just plant. I highly encourage people just to plant out the edges of their gardens with different herbs or things like that. Even if you personally don't like using fresh herbs, or if you don't really like the herbs that you're planting, plant them anyway, just so you can get the benefits of it. Any questions thus far? Any more? All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is irrigation. How do you guys irrigate your containers or any of your gardens or anything like that?
This spring, we haven't had to do a whole lot.
Yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
have. Man, it seems like the last couple of weeks we've had tons of rain. But
Well, mine's really close to my hose or handle will go with the watering can and water, so it's really convenient for us.
so this is more for someone who's got more of a bigger garden. I'd say this is for someone who's got maybe 500 square feet or above. That's not really practical for them to go out with their little hand hose and just spray everything. So this section is kind of more geared for those people. But so your irrigation, you have drip line, you have soaker hoses. You have soaker hoses, and then you have overhead watering. And this overhead watering is sort of where hand implements come in. I'm just going to touch on the different pros and cons of each one. Drip line's gotten a lot of really good publicity lately. It is basically you have lines, and at each one of your plants, say you're planting out tomatoes, At each one of your tomatoes, you have a little drip emitter, and that'll drip at whatever setting you set it. You set it to, you basically just have your big main line, and then off each main line, you have these little sub lines, and at each one of these little drip emitters is a plant. A lot of people really like this because it's really, really water efficient. If you live in a county or a state where you can't really plant, you can't really use a whole lot of water, this is something that a lot of people in California are going to, is drip line, because it's so water efficient. But on the downside, it takes a lot of time to set up. It takes a lot of money to implement it. It's not like just going out and buying one of those ticks. What am I trying to say? Sprinklers, that's the word. It's a lot more money to do it that way, but it's a lot more cost efficient if water is more expensive for you. So that is drip line. Soaker hoses are basically a porous hose. You basically set it out there and it soaks everything around it. But these guys, I really don't like soaker hoses, and I know a lot of gardeners don't really like soaker hoses because they have really, really uneven watering. They tend to, if there's a depression in your garden and they go over it, they tend to put a lot of water in that depression, and then the higher up areas of your garden, they don't really get a whole lot of water, so they're really uneven, but they are a relatively cheap option for you. Overhead watering is what I tend to use. I really like it because it's cheap, it's quick, it's effective. It's sort of a really, really quick way to get out there, get ready, get set up, get going in the spring. If I had more time and more money to put into it, I'd probably go with drip. But for anybody who's starting out, any home gardener, overhead watering is really going to work out well for you. One thing that I would just say is don't overwater. You want your water to I would say about 15 to 20 minutes every other day if you're using mulch is going to be pretty much exactly what you need. Unless it rains that day, obviously don't water. And then I would say usually for a decent size, 30 by 30 is going to be good for only one overhead waterer. Something you want to watch for is if you're planting really, really thick salad greens, if you're planting things like tomatoes, if you're planting things with a really big leaf, you want to be really careful that you let them dry out. If it's going to be a cloudy day, you really don't want to water a whole lot with them. If it's going to be if it's coming into the fall or early spring, you want to be really careful because you get this thing called downy mildew. It's like this really fine white mildew. You'll see if you go out to any pumpkin patches, you'll see a lot of the pumpkin leaves will be just covered in this white substance. You've seen it? And that's downy mildew. So you want to be careful that your plants have a chance to dry out. But overall, I think the overhead watering is probably going to be great for most people. If you want to play around with drip irrigation, it's a really great system as well.
So better to water in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing that I didn't say. Is it's better definitely to water in the morning.
So Melanie, to answer your question, she said no sprinkler, even a soft one. So sprinkler is fine, just it's good to have mulch to retain that moisture and water in the morning.
Yep, and with overhead watering too, I think one of the things that she was getting at was when the water, say raindrops, things like that, when that falls on bare earth, it tends to clog the pores and tends to destroy the aggregates of the soil. So that's where mulch is going to come in handy as well. It is going to protect the soil and all of those different things. But yes, watering in the morning is the best way to go about it. If you water in the morning, you'll definitely get all the amount of time that you need to let everything dry out. You'll get the most amount of water penetrating the soil and being able to be retained by the moisture. Because if you water in the daytime, if you water, say at noon when the sun is highest, you might burn your plants because all those little water droplets magnify the sun, and you might get holes in your leaves. And then
As well, you get a lot of evaporation as well. So it's best just to water in the morning for a lot of different factors like that. Any other questions coming? Anything? Any questions on irrigation? So lastly, I want to talk just a little bit about crops. Are there any questions that you guys have about just different specific crops that you guys grow? Anything, any troubles that you've had with anything that you've been trying to grow? Anything that's not working?
Hoping, I have new strawberry plants this year, so I'm hoping they actually work. Otherwise, like, dude, my garden is little.
So things like, I don't know what everybody likes to grow. So root crops, these are things like turnips, things like radishes, things like carrots, things like beets. All of these are just different root crops. And they tend to excel in a more sandy, loamy soil. So something that's really soft, really easy to work with. Things like clay, things like silty loam, those tend to be a little bit hard for root crops to really get down and to really flourish. But if you want to grow those things, I would suggest growing more of a globe root crop, like turnips, beets. I don't know if you guys know there's round carrots that you can buy. They're really good for container gardening as well. They get to be about the size of a radish. So things like that are really good if you have like a clay soil or a silty soil. Those are really good for really good solutions for things like that. If you're going to start preparing your garden beds for doing something like root crops, it's good. This is one of the few times I'll tell people to till. It's nice to deeply till your soil, just briefly. You don't have to do it, but it is nice to get a really nice uniform root. If you're looking for something like that, if you really don't care about the shape of the roots, then you really don't have to do it. But if you're really trying to get a nice big, nice uniform looking root, then it's nice just to deeply till briefly. With one pass over with the tiller is good. And yeah, root crops tend to need a more very fertile soil to do well. So you'll want to have something. You'll want to make sure that you apply your compost teas, things like that.
So for the people that aren't going to make a compost, and they're standing at the Fleet Farm garden section, there's a couple organic ones there. But does it if you're just buying the planting soil, what do you?
Personally, I don't really look at the potting soil, topsoil type things. What I look at are the ingredients. I like to look at, there was one company who had bagged soil at Walmart last year. I don't think they're there this year though. I was really impressed with them. You want to look at the ingredients. One thing that I really, really encourage people to look at is worm castings. You want to look and see, is there a worm casting base, something like that. Then you want to look for, do they have like a compost solution in there? Do they have, and what is their compost made of? Is it made of, is it made out of manures? Manures, I don't like going with a bagged manure because a lot of the times that manure is coming from feedlots. I don't know if anybody knows what a feedlot is. It's where they have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of cows, pigs, sheep, goats, whatever. It's basically factory farming in a nutshell. There's tons and tons of animals packed in a very small space. There's a lot of disease. That's where a lot of E. coli comes from, things like that. And you really don't want to buy a bag of manure unless it's OMRI listed. In that case, that's the next thing I look for is this OMRI listed? OMRI listed bagged compost, manure, anything like that, potting soil is going to have it's going to meet all the organic standards. When I personally, if I were to go certified organic, everything that I buy, everything that I use on my farm has to be OMRI listed. That's where if you're going to the supermarket, say we're at Coburn's right now, if you were to buy something USDA organic, it has to be everything that they have, everything it took to produce that crop has to be OMRI listed. They're the standard for organic.
We do have a question. First time growing broccoli. Help.
So brassicas, that's sort of where kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, those are all brassicas. They're going to need basically the same care as your salad greens. Your salad greens and tomatoes, they sort of overlap a lot. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you use your compost. Broccoli sort of takes a while for it to head up, but when it does, you'll have your head, and then you'll have your broccoli right up here. And when you cut this, a lot of people think that broccoli is something you can only harvest once, because I see it in the supermarkets. You only see one head of broccoli there. But yep, you'll be able to get you one harvest out of it. But then leave it on the ground, and you'll get all these tiny little broccolis coming out off the sides. You only have one big broccoli head, but you'll get lots and lots of small broccoli heads after that. You'll definitely want to make sure that you do use your compost, things like that. If you have issues with the leaves on the broccoli starting to yellow, what I like to recommend people do, and this goes for tomatoes as well. When it comes to tomatoes or anything that really fruits up like that, or creates a flower and then a fruit, or you're harvesting the flower, which in the broccoli's case, you're harvesting the premature flower. What you want to do, if you're not getting those results, is you want to take eggshells. Just a full dozen eggshells will probably do it. Put it on a cookie baking sheet. Put it in your oven on the lowest setting for, say, an hour until they get really, really crumbly. And then you'll take those and you put them in a coffee grinder, grind them up. If you really want to get the maximum benefit, use like a mortar or pestle and really, really grind them up into a fine, fine powder. And then what I tell people to do is take a gallon of water, put your ground up eggshells in there, and then apply that to each plant. If you just apply probably weekly or semi-daily. You can apply that, and that has a lot of potassium. And when it comes to things flowering up, they need a lot of potassium. So you really want to make sure that when you do go into it, make sure that if you're going to use like an organic fertilizer or anything like that, some people like to do that, is go with something high in potassium, because you'll really need that potassium when it comes to them flowering up.
How much of this did you add to the plant?
You can just, when it comes to a gallon, I think a gallon will probably go for 5 plants.
Okay.
5, 6, 7 plants it'll probably go for.
So you're telling me to start saving my eggshells for my strawberry plants?
Yeah, exactly.
So that would go for like cantaloupe too, right?
Yep, cantaloupes too, anything like that. Cantaloupes, watermelon, tomatoes, anything like that. They'll usually really, really like a nice dose of potassium. And if you see on your tomatoes, if you see like a yellowing at the bottom of your potato, or like a rotting at the bottom of your potato, that's caused from a lack of potassium.
Because the cantaloupe did.
That did it? Yep.
So that's because they were lacking the potassium.
Well, were they touching the soil?
They were, and then we put straw. We noticed it, so we put straw underneath, but it didn't. I don't know if it was too late.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to things like watermelon, cucumbers, anything like that, pumpkins is a good one. When it comes to that, when they start to fruit up and you start to see that fruit forming, what you want to take is a piece of plywood, anything like that, and slip it underneath your fruit, and that'll protect it from any of the soil microbes, the bad soil microbes, from getting up there and colonizing on the fruit. So this year, if you grow cantaloupes, when they start fruiting up, and if they're touching the soil, just slip a little piece of plywood underneath them. And then when it comes, if you want to get a really nice uniform shape on them, rotate them every week. Just rotate them on the vine, and that'll give them a nice uniform shape. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and if anybody sees those like square watermelons or square square any sort of fruit like that. If you want to make that at home yourself, just take.
I've never seen them either, yeah.
Really?
No.
You haven't?
Seen that.
I know it's a really big thing in Asia. I saw they started coming over here as well. But what you can do if you want to make this, look at the average size of whatever fruit that you're growing. Say if it's like cantaloupe or watermelon, look at the average adult size of that, and then you'll want to create a box, like just say like make it out of say 1/2 inch plywood. Make a box slightly smaller than that, and put it around that when it starts growing, and it'll actually grow to the shape of that box. And you'll have a square watermelon.
Oh,
Wow.
then you could just slice it. Maybe.
That would be a great
Exactly. Then you
solution.
slice your square watermelon really nice.
But the watermelon itself doesn't need any more sun then?
No.
Just the vine? Or like nutrients comes from the vine?
Nutrients all come from the vine. It might have a little bit of a blanched look to it, but
That sounds like too much work. I'm good with the old fashioned.
you're good with the old fashioned.
I'm good with the old
If
fashioned.
anybody is really handy or wants to do kind of a cool experiment, you can make square watermelons with that.
Oh, that would be a cool conversation piece at the graduation party,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, here's my square watermelon.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
What else do I have here? So, do any of you guys grow things like salad greens?
Yes.
I'm working on it.
I love
So, salad greens. These are another one right before you, if you're growing them, right before you irrigate in the morning, harvest them in the morning always. Because then you're going to gain the most sugars. Because sugars, all those different things, the sugars, the flavor, all of that comes when things get cold. You'll notice that a lot of like locally harvested lettuce, it'll be a lot sweeter in the fall and early spring because it's colder. And the plant is putting a lot more sugars into the leaves. So you'll want to harvest them in the morning. That's when it's coldest. And then if you're harvesting them, and like I do on my farm, I'll take the entire plant. I'll have my entire lettuce plant, and I'll just chop that off right there. I'll chop the entire plant off, leaving only 1.5 inches of growth right at the crown, and then that'll grow back in the heat of the summer, and like when it's really starting to grow, that'll be back in a week. You have an entirely new lettuce head right there, ready to chop off in a week. So after that, I say personally what I do, because I really don't like bitter leaves. So what I like to do is I'll do that 3 times, and then I'll dig everything up and I'll replant. So after 3 harvests of the entire plant, you'll want to resow it, and then if you want to get a continuous harvest, you'll want to plant. Say we're in the perfect time for this right now. You'll want to every 2 weeks or every week, or it's sort of up to your own preference. 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. You'll want to plant 1 bed here, 1 bed here, 1 bed here, and 1 bed here. That way, you'll get 3 harvests of this, you move on to this, 3 harvests of this, then you move on to this, and 3 harvests of this, you move on to this, and so on and so on and so on. So you have a continuous harvest of lettuce every single week. So that's a good tip. And that kind of goes for everything. Say you have cucumbers, anything like that, tomatoes. If you really want to get the maximum amount of harvest out of your small space, that's a good tactic to use. A lot of people like to plant their gardens out all at once. But when it comes to things like salad greens, if you really want to get the maximum bang for your buck, space it out into sessions, and then you'll get the maximum amount of harvest.
Well, that makes sense. When I read the back of my lettuce, it said 2 weeks. I'm like, why am I going to do this again in 2 weeks? Now I know.
Now you know.
Now I know.
Because then if you plant your entire huge garden all at once, you get a ton of lettuce all at once.
Right away.
But then what happens in a week or 2 or 3?
Yeah.
You have nothing.
Right.
And most of the time when you hit that peak, when you're harvesting everything, you can't even use that much.
Yeah.
So you want to be kind of tactical about this. We want to plant 1 week, next week, next week, next week. That way you have a perfect amount every week.
However, I did find out if you're planting kale, which I don't, but my neighbor does, he freezes his kale and then you can throw it in your smoothies.
Yeah, that's one of the few like leaf crops that you can do that with.
Yeah.
Lettuce I found doesn't really do that well.
No. It's just
Probably not. No.
It's black mush.
Zach.
So, man, that is pretty much it for everything that I have.
Do you want to touch on the microgreens? I know you have one.
Microgreens, yes. So, I have a little handout for everyone here. So, I personally, on my farm, I specialize in growing salad greens, microgreens, and things like that. And microgreens are basically, if you don't know what a microgreen is, microgreens are basically our same things that we eat every single day. Our broccoli, our kale, our peas, our sunflowers, all those different things. They're basically, it's the same seed. I use the same seed for that. I just grow it and I harvest it within 7 to 14 days. And the benefits of that is saying kale. Kale's a vitamin C powerhouse. It has so much vitamin C in it. It has so many cancer fighting enzymes in it. And when I harvest it at 7 to 14 days, it's at its peak nutrient value. It is so incredibly nutrient dense at that point than it will be at any other point in its entire lifetime.
Wow.
In the case of, say, red cabbage when it's in a microgreen state is 40 times more nutrient dense than its full-size counterpart. It's incredible.
Wow.
So these guys are really really beneficial.
So you just keep replanting those?
Yeah, exactly. So every week, on Mondays and Thursdays,
Wow.
I'm replanting microgreens. These right here. And I know I'm going to get questions about it, so I'm going to show the camera now. Is my microgreens are grown in their packaging. So these guys are grown in their packaging because when you harvest things like salad greens, you harvest things, anything like that, within 24 hours, 90% of its nutrient value is gone. Crazy, right? So when you harvest, when you get these factory farms harvesting lettuce, and it's 3 weeks old and it gets to you in the grocery store, what's really there anymore? So when it comes to my microgreens, those are a broccoli microgreen right there. I have radish microgreens right here. These guys, when you harvest these guys, when you go put these in your stir fries, your sandwiches, you put these in your shakes, anything like that, you're coming in with the scissors, just harvesting these about a ½ inch up from the soil line, and you're getting the maximum amount of nutrient value right then and there.
So could you actually grow them in the house all year like that?
Absolutely, that's what I do all year.
Alex grows them in his bedroom.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. I did wonder, how do you sleep? Do you have the lights on at night
I
too?
don't know.
Okay.
No, I have a regular circadian rhythm.
Just checking.
So you just order these little containers?
Yep.
Are they specifically for that? Is that what I look for? To grow microgreens?
These are actually just a regular food grade container. What people normally do if they're growing them at home, you can go. I know Fleet Farm has them right now. They're sort of a seasonal item. There's not a whole lot of
The
people.
seed trays or whatever?
Yeah, the 10,
yeah.
20 grow flats. Those, you can take those and just put a little bit of soil in the bottom and non-relisted soil. And then you take your microgreens, just spread them out there, and then within 14 days you'll be ready to go.
So these are regular seeds, right?
Yep, these are regular
They're
seeds.
just broccoli seeds, lettuce,
Yep.
whatever. No, lettuce, no.
Lettuce I don't tend to do.
So give me some ideas of what you're planting. Broccoli?
Anything that's on this list, pea shoots, broccoli shoots,
okay.
sunflower shoots, kale, all of those different things. You can do red cabbage, you can do mustard green, you can do all these different things.
So for those people that aren't ambitious in growing their own, Alex is at farmers markets throughout the summer.
Oh,
I'm at the Sauk Rapids Farmers Market and the Sartell Farmers Market. The Sauk Rapids Farmers Market is, I think, at, what's it called, the Trinity Lutheran Church, is that what it is?
I think so.
Trinity Lutheran Church from 3 to 6:30 this summer. That's going to be starting on June 6th, I think it is. I think that's a Thursday. So the first Thursday in June is when the Sauk Rapids starts. And then every Monday and Thursday is the Sartell market, and that's already started. We're in about our 3rd week now, and they're right over by the Sartell Hardware Hank, right at that Riverside Strip Mall, Riverside Plaza. And we're there from 3 to 6:30 as well, every Monday and Thursday.
And now it's $5.
$4.
$4?
Actually lowered the price.
Oh, okay. So $4 for a container of microgreens.
Yes.
If you visit Alex and Sartell, visit my German friend with her German bakery there.
Ah, there you go.
So you just cut those off a little ways down, and then you're eating them, and then they're just gonna grow back again.
Yeah.
Do they grow back? No.
No, pea
They
shoots.
don't.
Pea shoots, if you buy pea shoots from me, and they're the living pea shoots, those will actually grow back. Yeah, crazy.
But what I've learned is when you buy them, they don't have to be in the window.
They don't have to be in the window. What I normally tell people to do is just to put these on their kitchen counter in sort of like a partial sunlight, and then give them about a 1/4 cup of water every day. Or if you see that the soil is about the consistency or about the moisture level of a wrung out sponge, then they're good. Just leave them with their cover off. In this case, I've started to take the covers off of them already. You can just take these, put them on your kitchen counter, anywhere they're going to get some partial sunlight, and then you can just grow these until you're ready to harvest them. You can leave these for 2-3 weeks, and they'll just sit there and they'll keep growing and growing and growing. And then whenever you're ready to harvest them, just snip off however much you need. You can eat it right from there.
You just changed my life. This is amazing. I'm serious. I'm so excited. Oh my word. That is cool.
Thank you.
That
I
is
mean,
cool.
how nice to have your own grown
Yeah.
greens in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. My dog's gonna get it. I could raw for my dog.
So for our Young Living people, like I've bought these from Alex before, and I snip them off, and I'll put a little bunch in my pure protein shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That is
And the
amazing.
sunflower shoots on the protein shakes. Sunflower shoots have the most complete amino acid profile of any plant that you'll find. These guys, if you go to the gym, you get a good hard workout in. You come back, you're super tired, and you take these sunflower shoots, you put them into your protein shake, and these amino acids and all this protein is really, really going to help your body's function and be able to recover after that workout. And all the different enzymes, all the different minerals, nutrients, things like that are really going to help your muscles perform at their optimum performance level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Super cool.
Melanie,
What
do you have any
what are your
questions before we leave?
seeds?
What?
Where do you get your seeds?
I really like high mowing organic seeds. They're right West Coast. I think they're on the West Coast. Another really good one is Baker. High mowing, yes.
Okay.
Another one, if you're really into heirlooms and you really like the really funky type plants, then go to Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. They have some insane varieties. They have a really, really good seed selection. So, yeah.
All right, as long as you guys are thinking about planting organically, you probably should think about, where we go, gardening oil for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Citronella,
Ah, yes, citronella.
right? So you
Yeah.
can garden and make it peaceful,
Absolutely.
very much so. Have you, I know when you went to your grandpa's farm, did you have to deal with a large amount of weeds? We deal with this at the hunting land, and old farming compared to organic farming, and trying to do a little research, okay, how do you get rid of the weeds so you can actually do
Yeah.
we do food plots for the deer without using Roundup.
Yep.
And I know when I was Googling it, people were making comments okay, Scott's makes Roundup, if I remember that right.
Yep.
And they might have an organic labeled product, but keep in mind you're also feeding a big chemical company when you do buy those.
Yep. Things like Bayer is another one that Bayer aspirin. a lot of people don't realize that Bayer actually makes a lot of the chemicals and a lot of they're big GMO supporters as well.
Makes sense, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies actually really support the whole agricultural industry, factory farming, things like that.
Beautiful
Because
marriage.
a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the antibiotics that are used in the United States, like 80–90% of them are actually used on feedlots and on animals. So pharmaceutical companies, they really love the agricultural industry and the factory farming industry.
Which
So.
is disgusting.
so and you might not know this. I was getting my lawnmower fixed a few years ago, and people complain about the dandelions, which I don't really care about dandelions. I help the bees and I leave them, and I just mow more often, and it's all fine. But I don't think it's lime. I know lime is good for your lawn, but like you can go and buy stuff that's not chemical and spray it, or probably spread it
Yeah.
onto your lawn and be able to give nutrients to your lawn. And the thicker your grass is, the less weeds you have also.
Exactly, yeah. So things like rock dust you can find, man, what's it called? We live in granite country, so it's really easy to get some good rock dust. Rock dust is something that if you go on YouTube and you look up "Growing Your Greens" with John Kohler, I think you spell his name like this. He's a very big proponent of using rock dust in your garden and on your lawns, because rock dust replaces all the trace minerals. It replaces like 99 different minerals that we don't actually find. We don't actually really, that our soils are very depleted of. So yeah, things like zinc, things like I'm really spacing out the periodic table, but just all those different
That's good.
all these different small minerals that we really don't need in a very large capacity, you can get through rock dust. Things like azomite, I think it's called. The azomite rock dust, things like that. They're really good at replacing all of these minerals that you don't need a whole lot of, but it's good to get in small quantities and it'll really make a huge difference. I think I completely spaced over your question about the feedlots and things like that.
That's okay.
So when I'm at Malacca, and I've actually transitioned from my Malacca farm, and I've actually moved to a space in St. Joe. I have a friend of mine whose dad was really gracious to me, and he actually offered to let me use a really big area out there. And one thing that I'm using this year is stale seed bedding and landscape fabric. Now, landscape fabric is basically like using mulch, only it's basically like this weaved plastic, and it's sort of like a synthetic burlap almost. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm using that this year to try to combat all of the weeds. So what I'm doing is I'm going through, and if you guys have big gardens, or if you want to try this out, I'm taking these strips of landscape fabric, and what I'm doing is I have this piece of plywood that I took a circular saw to, or a hole saw to, and I put 3-inch holes, sort of off center here. And I took that, my piece of plywood, and I laid that over. And this was sort of my template here. And then I took a blowtorch, just a regular blowtorch you can pick up from a hardware store, and I burned holes in the landscape fabric. So burned holes right through this piece of plywood, lay the piece of plywood down, take your blowtorch, right through that, and then I'll melt holes in your landscape fabric. And then what I can do is, if it is different, if I'm growing things like tomatoes or salad greens, this is my salad green template that I'm showing right now. If you're doing things like tomatoes, you'll want to do something like just little spaces every 12 inches, 6 inches, whatever it is for you. And you want to burn your holes in. And then what I do is I just plant right through this. I just plant right exactly through that, and that'll protect my soil from getting any weed seed, anything like that. Something like a food plot, what a lot of people will do And what a lot of people don't realize is your soil is a big, big seed vault. It's a big seed vault, seed bank. And what you have here is your soil, and you got weed seeds all through here that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. You know, you can have weed seeds in here from like the Civil War that are just sitting here waiting dormant, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for your cultivator to come through this. You're pulling behind your ATV, whatever, your tractor, to come through here and to put all of these seeds right on your soil line, to get rained on by the rain, to make the perfect conditions for them to germinate again. So one thing that I like to tell people, one reason I like people not to till is because your big seed vault here, all you're doing when you're tilling is you're destroying the soil layers and the soil microbial life, everything like that, and you're doing exactly what you don't want to do, which is put all these weed seeds right on top for them all to sprout up and grow. So something like a food plot, what you want to do is you still have that crop residue sitting out in the field after you harvested or after you left everything, after the deer came in. And
We have a section now, yeah, it's weeds and leftover from last year.
so something you want to do is, if you really want to go hardcore, is you can get a crimper, which will come through and it'll crimp everything out for you. Let's make my picture here. So you'll have your soil line there. You'll have last year's crop residue sitting right there, last year's weed residue, all those different things. If you're like a conventional grower or something like that, if you have 100-acre farm or something like that, what you can do is you can get a crimper, and that'll crimp everything down. It'll make everything nice and flat for you. And then what you can do is you can buy, I'm sure you can buy it on a smaller level for your ATV, your seeder, and you can plant right through that crop residue. And what are we doing with that crop residue? We're using that crop residue as mulch. So all that dead weeds from last year, all the corn stalks, all the bean stalks, everything that we planted last year, we're just going to use that as a mulch. So that over time, we build up our mulch layer, we build up our soil fertility, and then our next year's corn that's been planted through all of that crop residue, it comes up, and there's no problem. It's got such a thick mulch layer from all of that last year's crop residue, and the year after that, and the year after that.
So the crimper is how you kill.
Exactly, it'll just kind of crimp everything down.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. And then another thing you can do is, this is sort of a more advanced tactic if you want to do this, but you can do something called cover cropping. Now, personally, I don't have any experience with cover cropping. It's never something I've done because I'm on such a small scale. But say you have a food lot or a feed lot, something like that, and this is basically going to go back to mulch again. But what you have is your cover crop, which you use your soil line again, and then you're going to want to buy some. You're going to want to. I've heard a good beginner cover crop is something like rye, oats, legumes, things like that. And you'll want to plant all of that out, right out here. You'll want to plant that about, I think the time frame is 4 to 6 weeks before your first frost of the fall. You want to plant that out. And you'll want to, it's got to be something when you're going to buy your cover crops, you want something that winter kills in your area. So this isn't going to come up next year. You want something that's not a perennial. You want something that's going to winter kill. So that when you come in next year, you've planted out your cover crop. You come in the next year, and everything's been killed. You have this nice mulch layer on there, and you can just seed right through this. And you have that nice mulch layer from last year's cover crop, and then you come back the next fall, and you plant right through that again.
So they had a cover crop, but they tilled it in the middle instead of having it. So that's probably why the weeds still came up.
You can till it
Yeah.
and everything, but then you run the risk of not having that mulch layer and the weeds.
Right.
And everything like that.
Sweet. All right, ant killer is a big topic. I choose de-earth, touchy stuff. I don't know what.
Ant killer, I really have never had a problem with ants, to be honest. But I would recommend just going for something, again, that's Omri listed, a different just sort of poison or something like that that's Omri listed that's not going to get into the rest of the food chain.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And then you have. It's great when you have your classmates coming and going all around you, right? All right, and then we already showed this, but I'll show it again. Alex has Epic by Nature on Facebook and Instagram,
Absolutely.
so you can follow him there.
Yep. And then if you ever wanna place an order for something specifically, just shoot me a text, call me, shoot me an email, something like that. And you can give me an order. I'll have it ready within a week and a half. I can deliver it to you, or you can pick it up from any of the 3 vendors.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Facebook world.
Bye, everybody.